The big AI companies are running as fast as they can. It's a frantic, high-stakes race where the finish line keeps moving. The fear isn't just about losing, it's about being left behind entirely, becoming a footnote in the next technological revolution. Every major player, from established giants to ambitious startups, feels the immense pressure to accelerate, to innovate faster than their rivals, and to capture the public's imagination before someone else does. It's a modern gold rush, a digital Klondike for the 21st century. In this new world, data is the new precious metal. Every search query, every online interaction, every digital photo is a potential nugget of gold, waiting to be mined from the vast, sprawling servers that form the bedrock of our digital lives. And if data is the gold, then processing power is the pickaxe. The vast, energy-hungry data centers filled with cutting-edge GPUs are the heavy machinery, digging, sifting, and refining raw information into something far more valuable. Intelligence. This is not just about cool tools or clever chatbots, it's a dash for dominance and survival. The goal is to build the foundational platforms of the future, the digital ground upon which all other applications will be built. To lose this race could mean becoming irrelevant, a utility player in an ecosystem controlled by someone else. But as the prospectors rush ahead, the sheriffs are arriving. The UK and the EU are laying down new rules of the road, attempting to map out a legal framework for a technology that is evolving faster than legislation can be written. They're grappling with fundamental questions of safety, fairness, and copyright. These aren't tweaks, they're tectonic shifts. The EU AI Act, for example, introduces a risk-based approach that could fundamentally alter how these models are developed and deployed, creating new obligations and potential liabilities, and they put giants like Google, OpenAI, and Microsoft under real pressure. Suddenly, the race has new hurdles. The path to market is no longer just a technical challenge, it's a complex maze of compliance, ethics, and public accountability. The bet remains the same. Spend billions to build the biggest, most capable models and control the future. This is a game of massive capital expenditure, where the cost of entry is measured in the tens of billions of dollars for chips and infrastructure alone. Leaders like Sam Altman and Satya Nadella are pushing their organizations at breakneck speed, driven by the conviction that the first to achieve true, scaled artificial general intelligence will not just lead the market, they will redefine it. This creates a powerful tension between short-term wins and long-term risks. The desire for market leadership clashes with the need for caution, and that's precisely why governments, regulators, and the public are watching so closely. The outcome of this gold rush won't just determine the fortunes of a few companies, it will shape the future for all of us. How we find information is changing at a breathtaking pace, and for billions of people, Google sits at the very center of that transformation. The familiar blue links that defined an era of the internet are giving way to a radically new paradigm, one driven by artificial intelligence. For over 2 decades, the model was a simple, symbiotic exchange. Search was a gateway. You typed a query, you received a list of potential destinations, you clicked, and you visited a website. This flow of traffic was the lifeblood of the open web, funding everything from niche blogs to major news organizations through advertising and subscriptions. Now, that fundamental contract is being rewritten. Instead of just pointing the way, AI-powered search engines read the source material for you, synthesizing the information into a neat, convenient answer delivered directly on the results page. The goal is efficiency, to satisfy your query without the need for an extra click. But for the creators and publishers who produce that original information, this efficiency is an existential threat. They lose the clicks that drive traffic, the ad revenue that pays their staff, and ultimately, the core incentive to keep writing and publishing high-quality content for an open web that no longer sends visitors their way. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. Experts warn that AI could effectively eat its own seed corn. If the human-made web it needs to learn from withers away from a lack of traffic and funding, future models will be trained on a shrinking, lower-quality pool of data, or worse, on the synthetic output of other AIs. Because Google holds near monopoly power in search, even small user interface changes can trigger seismic ripples across the entire internet economy. What the company presents as a simple product update is, for millions of businesses, a fundamental alteration of their reality. The path of least resistance for users is to trust the first answer they see. When that answer is a single, AI-generated summary, It grants the search engine an unprecedented level of editorial control over how the world receives its information. The backlash is already underway. Major newsrooms are suing for copyright infringement. Thousands of sites are updating their terms to block the AI scrapers that train these models. Others are demanding direct payment for the value their content provides. And there are signs that some users are pushing back, preferring to see the original sources over synthesized summary. Competitors like DuckDuckGo, which have committed to cleaner interfaces that prioritize links, are reporting user growth. The central fear is the potential homogenization of knowledge, a rich, diverse, and sometimes messy web of human voices being filtered, flattened, and ultimately replaced by a single, automated narrator. For years, AI innovation raced ahead, operating in a gray zone with few guardrails, but the explosive growth of generative models has forced a global reckoning. Now, regulation is finally catching up, and the unstructured era of development is rapidly drawing to a close. Europe is leading the charge. Building on its legacy with privacy and market regulations like GDPR, the EU has passed the landmark AI Act. This comprehensive law establishes a risk-based framework, categorizing AI systems from minimal to unacceptable risk, and setting clear rules for high-risk applications in areas like employment and law enforcement. Across the channel, the UK is also taking a firm stance, particularly on market power. Its Competition and Markets Authority designated Google with strategic market status, in plain English, a recognition of its monopoly in search, signaling deeper scrutiny of how tech giants leverage their dominance. This new regulatory climate empowers creators and publishers. Newsrooms and artists can now more effectively block AI scraping of their content, using technical and legal tools to prevent their work from being ingested into training data sets without permission or compensation. This shift begins to restore leverage to those who create the data that fuels the AI ecosystem. In the US, change is primarily driven by litigation. A wave of high-profile lawsuits from authors, artists, and media companies is challenging the legality of training AI on copyrighted material. In the absence of federal law, states like California are stepping into the void, proposing their own ambitious rules to govern AI development and safety. At the federal level, the approach remains cautious. The White House has favored voluntary commitments from leading AI labs over binding legislation, focusing on establishing safety norms through pledges rather than imposing hard laws. The consequences for non-compliance are becoming severe. Companies now face the real threat of steep fines, mandated changes to their business practices, and even the loss of access to the very data their models depend on. This is the Brussels effect in action. When a major economic bloc like the EU sets stringent standards, those rules often become the de facto global baseline, as multinational companies find it easier to adopt the strictest policy everywhere rather than navigate a patchwork of local laws. For the titans of tech and the startups racing to join them, the message is clear. The era of leniency is ending. The age of accountability has begun. Scraping means bots copy huge amounts of public web content. LLMs need trillions of words to learn language, answer questions, and write. News, books, blogs, comments, nearly everything got ingested. Creators argue it's mass, unauthorized reproduction for profit. They didn't consent to fuel billion-dollar products without credit or pay. Courts must decide, fair use for training or infringement at scale. EU and UK move to enforce do not scrape and slow the data fire hose. Models depend on high-quality data. If top sources opt out, progress stalls. The fix may be licensing, costly, but it could remake AI business models. A deeper risk, models trained on AI-written data. Researchers call it model collapse, a degenerative feedback loop. As AI fills the web, new models start learning from synthetic output. Like copies of copies, each generation gets blurrier and dumber. Human writing has nuance and flaws. AI output trends to smooth averages. Studies show training on synthetic data hurts performance. If search adds AI answers, future crawls ingest more AI and poison the well. AI needs fresh human work, papers, novels, debates, reporting to advance. If AIs mainly read AIs, novelty dries up. Everyone loses, including AI. OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, visionary leaders all making massive bets. xAI pushes Grok, another rival in the race to AGI. NVIDIA, led by Jensen Huang, supplies the chips that power the boom. Chips are scarce, spending is astronomical. Hyperscale data centers burn cash. and electricity. Like the dot-com bubble, huge debt, unclear paths to profit. Meanwhile, small, efficient, specialized models keep getting better. If they match quality, big model economics could crumble, fast. Players like Anthropic push safety and reliability, competing on trust as well as scale. We stand at a fork, concentration or diversification. If big bets pay off, a few firms could dominate platforms and knowledge. Convenience rises, but so do monopoly risks and weaker privacy. Or we get thousands of smaller AIs, cheaper, efficient, specialized. They run on our devices and give us more data control. Trade-off, more competition, less seamless integration. Breakthroughs, EU-UK rules, and antitrust will shape outcomes. Public choice matters. We can demand sources, diversity, and control. There's real hope and real risk. The next few years will define a generation.